And he said, I just have to stand up and shake your hand. So he got up and he shook her hand and he said, you must go back to your GP and tell him. So he was absolutely astounded, but a doctor that actually was okay with that type of eating.
Julie, how did you find Carnivore?
Quite by accident. I had never heard of Carnivore before, and it was a Saturday morning sitting at my computer designing a few little things. I love to do arty things. And my sister-in-law, who thinks outside the box, Nina, she's a rebel and a pioneer, sent this email for my husband. And the subject was, plants are trying to kill you. And I thought, what on earth is Nina sending us this time? Plants are trying to kill you. What is this? Anyway, Mauro, my husband, was sitting there watching something on YouTube, and he's had a bowel issue called proctitis. Very severe. He can take no medication. That put him into shock. And he was reaching the end and saying, I just can hardly go on. I don't know what I'm going to do. Everything I eat is just coming out the other end and I'm having a lot of bleeding. And he said, I just don't know what to do. He'd seen Michaela Peterson and then, who's doing Carnivore, and then, or the Lion Diet, and we see this email. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I better tell him. It's probably some crazy thing, but I'll tell him. So, okay, Nina sent you this video. It's called, you've got to watch it. It's on YouTube. She thinks it will help your proctitis. So he starts watching it. I'm not looking at the TV. I'm in a different part of the room. And I'm hearing Anthony Chafee for the first time. And I'm thinking, this is starting to sound a bit sensible. Maybe this isn't crazy. Because he's talking about how plants have got chemicals and the chemicals are a defense mechanism. But when we eat them, they may cause issues. And Mauro loves vegetables. He grows beautiful vegetables. He's got probably the size of a house block. We live on 16 acres and he's got this beautiful vegetable garden. And all he ever does is eat salads. He grew up big Italian family, 9 kids. They grew up growing tomatoes and selling them to the canneries. And he just loves vegetables. Anyway, listening to this and thinking, okay, Anthony Chafee's a neurosurgeon. He's studied botany. He's done rugby. And it's all starting to make me think, well, maybe we should listen to this. Anyway, I think, who is this Anthony Chafee? So I pop my head around the corner and think, oh, he doesn't look who I thought he would be. He looked totally different to what I was expecting. And I thought, well, he looks pretty healthy. He's not a skinny little, like, worn away man that's, malnourished. So anyway, long story short, Mauro says, I think I should do this. What about you? And I said, well, I'm doing keto and I don't really have any health issues. So I'm not sure. How about we just watch you? Anyway, he starts doing it on that Saturday. By the Monday, I decide, what have I got to lose? We'll just do it together, see what happens. And neither of us have looked back, and it's been 18 months. And we love Carnivore. For Mauro, 2 weeks in, his bleeding stopped. He had to have toilets close by. Everything he did was dictated by this condition. Anyway, 2 weeks in, that stopped for him. 1 week in, I lost 5 kilos. I thought, oh, this is pretty good. Then it settled a bit, but the weight loss has continued. And over the last 18 months, Mauro had put on about 10 kilos post-retirement, but he's never been a big person. I lost, or have lost to date, 44 kilos, which is about 97 or 98 pounds American. So I kept thinking 100 pounds, nearly there. But once I started Carnivore, it wasn't just about the weight loss for me. It was all these things I never knew that I had. I thought, oh, no, I'm okay. It's just the weight. But done diets all my life. And from the age of 3, I can remember back, always being a sugar addict. And at kids' parties, every single kids' party as a child, I would vomit because I would eat everything in sight. I couldn't get enough. My mother was very, English sort of diet, just meat, vegetables, treat here and there, but we never really had a lot of junk. So our party was like, woohoo, I'm having everything on the table. And once, a funny story, my sister and I both went to one of these parties, and it went on into the night, and they put us into a bed with my auntie, who's only a couple of years older, in the bed with us, and we both vomited on her. So that wasn't much fun. But all my life, that never went away. Loved sugar. Anything with sugar, I would eat. If chocolates went missing, it was me. Once my parents got some chocolates as a gift, a great big box of chocolates. And of course, I had to pinch a few. And I snuck away to have these chocolates. And I thought, these taste really weird. They'd put pepper in them, thinking, we'll teach her a lesson. She'll never eat chocolate again. It didn't turn me off chocolate. I ate them anyway and thought, oh, they're a bit strange, but I'll eat them anyway. So this addiction went forever. And then as I got to 15, I was never a fat kid because of mum's diet, and she was in charge of the food. But as I got to puberty, the weight came on a little bit hormonally, and I started my first diet at 15, and it was a Limits diet. It was this product called Limits in Australia, and they were big biscuits, like they were that sort of size. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I love biscuits. This is a diet. Woo. But you could only have 3 of them a day. So I ate these Limit things. That didn't really work. Then I tried, I can't remember what the tablet was called. It was off the shelf. And it felt like I had 3 inches between my scalp and my hair. It's like walking around spaced out. That didn't work. Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, Dr. Atkins. That worked, but it was a bit more stringent back then. What else did I try? Magazines, books, injections. I once went to the doctors and had these, I think it was rabbit urine injections, pregnant rabbit, and 600 calories a day. So that was another one. That worked, but you can't live on that. What else?
What were the injections
There
meant to
was some
do?
sort of a hormonal rabbit urine, something like that, and they were pregnant. HCG, I think it was called, something like that,
Ah,
and
I was
600
gonna say,
calories.
because if the diet I was gonna say, because if the diet is like 600 calories along with the injections, of course you're gonna lose weight, and then you're gonna go, "Oh, the injections are amazing."
Absolutely. It was just
Yeah.
eating 600 calories. So that was that. What else did I try? Is there anything else? Don't Just sort of whatever diet was out there, I tried it. And in the end, I could do all the diets, but they were always lose weight, but never how to keep it off and how to sustain living while on these diets. So I finally came across keto, and that seemed to do the trick most of the time because you could have pretty much everything except the real, things I love to eat, all those terrible forbidden things, but I could make substitutes. So I think I was just trying to have my cake and eat it too. So keto worked, but then when I discovered carnivore, for me, carnivore is keto on steroids, and all my cravings have gone. I've now got food freedom. It's a bit like people talk about Ozempic, where they say the food noise goes away. So it has helped in that respect that I can actually stick to this, and I can actually work with my body, not against my body. Sort of like my mind now and my body are on the same page. Whereas I always battled my body. It was like my enemy. And now it's my friend. It works with me and I work with it. So it's been a real freedom. And aside from weight loss, all these things I didn't realize might have been connected to diet. So moodiness, cravings, thinking it's a lack of willpower, backaches in the morning, vertigo. I had panic attacks, anxiety, and I don't have any of those things since being on Carnivore.
So when you think about this, right? So you 18 months carnivore, yeah, you don't have the moods, you don't have the vertigo, you've lost a lot of weight, you don't have all these things. You're, I guess, because you don't have that food noise, just generally you feel calmer all the time. Your husband, the proctitis went away in 2 weeks. When people say, "Are you carnivores? You're all crazy." I mean, what would you say to that?
I understand why they think that. They think it because they haven't tried it. Because every person who has tried it says the opposite. And society teaches us all that we have to eat all of the foods and moderation. And another thing that stands out for me with those sorts of comments is that the big thing was eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. That's great. But I was always hungry and never full. Now, 1 or 2 meals a day, and often one, because I'm just not hungry. So all the things that we were taught was pretty much, if you don't have these things, you will get all these terrible illnesses. But the opposite seems to be true. If we do eat all those things, everybody's sick. Everywhere you look, everyone's got ailments. Diabetes, kids that are hyperactive. Oh, I was also diagnosed with ADD at 50. I went to the doctors for a pap test and I came home with ADD. I thought, aren't they the opposite ends? So
Well, how did that diagnosis come about on that particular occasion?
I know. I thought, well, how did you just diagnose that? Aren't we at the other end here? And he said, well, I can tell that you have an attention deficit. I thought, oh, I just thought that was because I think 50 things at once. And I've always been like this. Anyway, he took me and gave me some tests, had a few things like MRIs and things, did a checklist and said that I was definitely a few standard deviations away from the norm and definitely had ADD. So I thought, this is pretty weird. Went home, started studying up on it, and I thought I would never have known. But when I read the checklist, I think I actually do have ADD. I think I actually do look
So,
at the list of sorts of things that it says people do.
and so kind of getting that diagnosis at 50, did that kind of make you feel like that answers a lot of questions about the way I've felt about things throughout my life?
Yeah, it did actually. Yep, yep, very much so. And my family and I, we still sort of think, do I have this? Do I not have this? And in the end, it doesn't matter to me if it's yes or no, because I think it is just who I am anyway. Didn't really make a big difference to me. But yes, I'm disorganized, messy, creative, always got 50,000 competing thoughts, lots of things that I think are like, those things that you read about with ADD. And a lot of people that are creative, I often hear a lot of creative people have got ADD. We never shut up, we butt in. All those things I do all the time. But the difference with Carnivore, and even that aspect, it's given me time to think. There's always this little pause instead of just jumping in. When I'm faced with decisions, even if it's to have a little cheat, I now step back and think about something before I just rush in. Whereas before, I think physiology was the thing. If you're craving, you can only starve for so long. You'll eventually give in. But when you address the physiology through carnivore, your body's actually firing on all pistons. So, yeah, so that was just an interesting thing, finding that out at that late age. But yeah, I just accept it as part of who I am. And Carnivore helps.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and to know that also carnivore kind of gives you almost gives you space so that, maybe the thoughts aren't racing as much, or you're not thinking about as much at the one time, or you're able to at least prioritize what's happening in the moment so that, you can have a calmer approach to things. Is that
I think
would
so.
that be an
Yeah.
accurate way of putting it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still who I
Yeah.
am. I haven't changed that much. But
Mm.
I do think it's given me less brain fog as well, and maybe that works hand in hand with the ADD. When you've got brain fog and you're sort of walking around in days sometimes. But no, it's definitely helped with that. I think the biggest thing is that it's just made life a lot easier. You're not having to worry about cooking 50,000 meals. It keeps it simple. You go to certain places you get for your meat. Cheating. Yes, my husband and I, we're not like, die hard. Oh my goodness, we had something we shouldn't. That's the end of the world. We just think if there's a special event coming up and we decide ahead of time, we'll probably have something that day. But I probably have a lot less than I don't vomit anymore when I go somewhere to a party, which is good. That changed. But I'll decide, I think about it for about a week before. I think, okay, we're going to this event. What will I do at that event? And it's not I can't have anything. It's will I or won't I? I can now choose what I do. So it's not forbidden anymore. It is not cheating. It's choosing. To me, that's a huge
So
difference.
so, I mean, it sounds to me like it's no longer emotional.
No, no, it's actually thinking and making a decision.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things for me as well. It's just taking the emotion out of eating altogether, It's like if I'm walking past something that I previously have been, like, really attracted to, like some really nice cake or something like that, I'll just be like, "I've got no feeling anymore." I can
Yeah,
appreciate it looks nice, but I've got no feeling for it anymore.
yeah, it's really shocked me, that revelation, because being an absolute sugar die-hard fan for, I'm 66 now, all of those years of just, I can only remember loving sugar. And now, if I do have something on an occasion, we went for my son's birthday to a beautiful steak hotel in Melbourne, and I'd eaten the meal and it felt great. And then I thought, oh, the dessert, it's an apple crumble. Look, it's his birthday, I'll have some. I really regretted it because it was just so sweet. My palate's changed. Things that I would have once thought this is perfect are now so sweet. So that was a real learning thing.
Mm. Yeah. So, you mentioned that when you're eating, it's 1 or 2 times a day. So, like, typically, how do you work that out? Are you just intuitive eating, or do you typically stick to the 2 meals, and then if you're just not hungry, you only have the 1?
I think I'm intuitively eating. I'm not a big breakfast person, so it works with carnivore. It's great. I think of it as an easy fast. So probably have the meal usually by about 12:30 lunchtime. That's when I'll probably feel hungry. And if I really feel like having something, I will. Otherwise, I'll wait till about 2 or 3 and then just have the one meal. But if I do decide, yeah, I'm going to have something earlier on, if I'm hungry again later, I'll have something. And if not, I won't. I just go by what my body says. So usually once, say,
Right.
5 days out of 7, it's once a day. And the other days, it's 2 meals a day. And do have coffee. I don't worry about coffee. It doesn't seem to affect me. So I'll have coffee. And that's sort of like what I do during the day, or tea.
And is that the kind of, steak and eggs?
My favourite meal is I fill it with a cream pepper sauce. So you can have cream. Dairy, I suppose if I want to speed up my weight loss, I could cut the dairy. But I think I'd rather enjoy my meals. So still losing, just slower. But yeah, I fill it either pan fried or on the barbie, and then just an easy cream in the pan, put the meat back in, pepper, salt, and paprika. That's my favourite. Or eggs, sometimes I'll make a quiche with ham, cheese, and eggs, and no crust. So it's a crustless quiche, and they're beautiful. And we've got our own chooks, so our eggs are just really amazing. What else?
Just for the international audience, can you explain what a chook is?
Oh, chook! Chickens, hens. Love them. They're such funny creatures. So we've got 7 of those.
So
Started with 12.
7.
Yeah, a few met untimely deaths. So we've got 7 now. We'll probably build that up again. But love the eggs. We go to an abattoir close by, or not an abattoir. It's like a wholesale, direct to public meat place. So I think they get everything from the abattoir and they just finish it off. And we go to Costco and we get minced meat, which is ground beef in the US, and ground pork or minced pork. And I usually do half and half pork, beef, and make hamburgers or a breakfast casserole, which is just easy. Just cook up some mince and then stir in some eggs and cheese, bit of sour cream, salt, pepper, paprika again, whiz it all up together, put it in a lasagna dish in the oven, and then I just put that into like 8 portions. And it's so easy. There's food for 3 days. So, and my family laugh because our dogs are on carnivore, and my son and husband cook their meals in the crock pot, the slow cooker, and they go, "You eat what the dogs eat." I say, "That's good enough for me. We're all eating it. We're all happy." So that's the mince. Follow a few people on YouTube. Courtney Luna, she wrote a book. It's all beautiful carnivore recipes. So I just made her, she calls them panko noodles, which is using the pork crumble mixed with cream cheese, eggs, and what else was in there? Oh, gelatin, beef gelatin. So they're all carnivore friendly. So I made those, and it's basically like an egg noodle. So I call the dish, I make a little sauce with ham, cream, salt, pepper, reduce it down, mix those egg noodles in, they get baked and then cut into strips. And I call it fettuccine because it's the eggs. So it's not fettuccine, it's fettuccine. So that's lovely. But there's lots of variety. If people want variety, you can have it. If you just want to do simple, you can do that too. So yeah, it's so easy.
So you still enjoy being in the kitchen, like you enjoy kind of making those different kind of recipes and
Yeah, most of the time I don't. Like, weekends maybe on a Saturday, or if I've just been eating, because I tend to do things where I go in cycles. I'll just have hamburgers. And when I do a hamburger, it's not just the patty, it's bacon, egg, melted cheese. I make it a gourmet hamburger, just no bun, no vegetables. And then I really like what I'm eating, so I'll do that for like 3 days. And then I'll discover something else. I'll say, oh, I've made this bone broth and I'll stew some gravy beef. That's really good. So I'll do that for about 3. I just do things and then really like them. And then by the time I'm sick of that, I'll find something else and I just end up with a whole slew of things. So, but it is because a lot of people say, you only eat meat. I say, no, there's meat, dairy, seafood, and it's what you can do with things. So it's as easy or as complicated as you want to make it.
so do you eat a lot of seafood? Like, do you have a lot of prawns and lobster and stuff like that?
No, not a big one for the seafood. Fish, what do we like? What's that one with the tail? I never remember what it's called. But I've got nephews that love to fish, and when they fish, they catch it straight out of the beach. So that's an occasional thing. The odd treat once in every blue moon with the cheap might be a piece of flake with batter, but that's very rare. So mostly meat. Cold things like tuna. that would be something I'd probably have more. But yeah, not a big seafood eater.
Yeah. And just another one for the international audience. So flake is like gummy shark,
Shark.
right?
Yeah,
Is
gummy
that right?
shark. I think is it the
Yeah.
big shark? Yeah, anyway, it's shark. I
Mm.
don't know which one.
I heard that the fish and chip shops used that because it was actually cheaper than fish, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bit of flake occasionally is pretty nice, right?
Yeah, it is very good. You just can't have potato cakes to
Mm.
go through it with it or the chips. Yeah, but the flake's pretty good.
Yeah.
And you can have it grilled. You don't have to cheat. You can just have it grilled.
Yeah. So like how have people reacted to this? Like it sounds like your son's on board. Um, what about other people around you? Are they kind of a little bit like, "Oh, well, yeah, that's nice that you're doing it, but I'm not interested."
Mostly like family members, both our sons. We've got three sons, but our first son's got special needs. He's in accommodation. The other two live at home. They're never leaving, I don't think. They're adults. So they're doing it. And I've also got some sister-in-laws that are doing it, three sister-in-laws. And I can't remember if I mentioned it, but one sister-in-law had fatty liver and she had plantar fasciitis. Did I mention that already? I'm not too sure if I did, but if I didn't, she went on to Carnivore and in 6 months, she was 92 kilos when she began, and in 6 months, she was down to 63 kilos. So 29 kilos. And she used to do the diet shakes and said, Carnivore's just been amazing. So she did that and,
And
yeah, got rid of those conditions.
so fatty liver's gone.
Fatty liver's gone. She went back to see her liver specialist after 6 months. She walked into his consulting room and he said, oh, I see you're on Ozempic. I told you you'd lose weight. She said, I'm not on Ozempic. And he said, well, how did you lose that weight? And she said, Carnivore. And she said he was really stunned. And she kept telling him what he said, how did you do it? She told him her meals. And she just stuck to fairly simple meals. She allowed herself a little bit of lettuce or salads and chicken meals, meat meals, and said, that's all I did. And he said, I just have to stand up and shake your hand. So he got up and he shook her hand and he said, you must go back to your GP and tell him. So he was absolutely astounded. But a doctor that actually was okay with that type of eating. So yeah, he was amazed.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so she's
That's
doing
really
well.
good.
And
So that must make you feel pretty good, like you've introduced the concept of carnivore to your sister-in-law, and she loses nearly 30 kilos, reverses fatty liver disease and plantar fasciitis. That's a pretty good result.
it is. And no one in her household are doing it. So probably for about the first 6 months, every week I would ring her. And I said tomorrow, I don't know if I'm hassling her or not, but I'm ringing her to give her support. So every single week I'd ring and say, oh, how's it going? And if she said, oh, it stayed the same this week, or I didn't lose what I thought, I said, you just keep going, you'll be right. And she's just recently told me that without those calls and without that support, she said, I really don't think I could have done it. So I think that's a big part of Carnivore too. We can do anything we put our minds to singly, but if you've got someone in your family that's doing it too, it just helps so much. And if you haven't got that, we've got you, Dave Mack, and we've got all the other champions that it's only a click away to get that sort of support. And it does, it makes a huge difference. Just knowing other people can do it propels you along. If they can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. I noticed that from a lot of the comments I received over time on my channel is when I started doing the interviews, the primary reason for doing the interviews was just to get the word out there. Got to tell everyone about this. This is, so important to get this news out that, you can reverse things like type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, etc. And from the comments I was getting, I realized that the videos actually have another benefit, and that is that for someone who's on carnivore and maybe there's no one else around them that's doing it, and they're having a bad day, and it's like, "Oh, I might just have that, that bit of bread or that cheat or whatever," and it's like, but if I listen to someone else's story, that just gives me that little bit of strength to push through. And yeah, so yeah, it's so important to have some kind of connection, right?
Absolutely. And it's a growing community. And it's only because of people like yourself and others and all the people that watch. But we watch you absolutely every single day. We hardly watch mainstream anymore, TV. We just tune into you. And it really, days when I'm thinking, oh, I might be just having a grumpy day. And sometimes I have moods where I go, there's nothing going wrong, but I'm just in one of those moods. Keep away from me, everyone. I'll get over it. But they're the days too that I just tune in, get encouraged. And it's never about carnivore. That's fine. I'm not battling with that at all. But I love seeing how other people have achieved things, overcome whatever demons they've had. And every single person that tries carnivore seems to benefit. Unless, the people that we don't hear about have all given it a day or something. I think you've got to do it for a certain amount of time. And until you do it for your own body, you can hear 1,000 stories. And until you try it, that's when you become a believer, because then it's you telling that story. It's not just hearing it from others. You're actually living that story.
Right. It's when you experience it with your own body and you finally it sounds weird and it sounds very woo-woo and that kind of thing, but it's like you actually cross this kind of gate or something. It's like you, because you can't imagine a world of not being hungry when you're doing a regular diet, right? It's
Absolutely.
just it's impossible to imagine, right? It's impossible to imagine a day without 3 meals and 3 snacks, you know? And so when you first hear about carnivore, you think that's crazy. That's impossible. You must be lying to me. There's no way that anyone can only eat 1 meal a day and be happy. And then 30 days in, 60 days in, after you've experienced it for yourself, you suddenly go, yeah, that's why I didn't believe it, because, none of that stuff I was eating before was actually food.
That is so, so true. I think now when we go to the supermarket, because we get coffee, tea, toilet paper, all the things you have to go for, to me, it's almost like those, I can't remember the director's name, but whoever did all those zombie movies, and all the zombies are all there walking around like this. I now think of us when we're not on carnivore. I'm needing that fix. I've got to get to that place where all those things are. And it's like all horrible stuff designed to tempt us to give in to whatever craving you may have. It's like a drug. To me, it is like a drug. Sugars, I'm an addict. I can't have it. I can now have a little bit as long as I don't do it more than like a once off here and there. If I make it a daily thing, I'd be in big trouble. I'm probably always going to have that issue. But yeah, I just think we're all there, part of the system. And I just sit in shopping centres or shopping malls and just look at all the people walking past, how many people look unfit, unhappy. They just look like they're walking in this terrible haze. And I was one of them. And my husband will have to say a funny thing. When we're shopping, he can't find me anymore because I just don't look like I used to. And he's going, I can't tell, where are you? He's looking at all the women I used to be. Oh, that's her over there. So that's pretty funny. So yeah, lots of fun laughs along the way.
The really sad thing is when you're thinking about, walking around the supermarket, walking around the shopping center, and you see all the people that are unfit and unhealthy and unhappy. The really sad thing is 99.9% of those people just walking around unfit, unhealthy, unhappy, thinking, "I just drew the short straw in life." Because they don't know any better, because they've watched all the, I don't know, Good Morning Australia shows, or, all the stuff on TV where they talk about balanced diet and whatever. And they're all thinking, well, I'm doing a balanced diet. I'm buying the low fat food. I'm buying the no cholesterol food. So I guess I was just unlucky in life and drew the short straw in the DNA pool or something. And it's just so sad because it doesn't have to be that way, but there's no one out there educating them, right?
You're absolutely right. That is so, so true. For all these years, I've just thought, oh, well, I've got that fat gene. I'm just predisposed to getting fat no matter what I do because I can lose it but can't keep it off. And when I did the carnivore and my husband did it, he's not a fat person. Never had a big weight issue. Put a bit of weight on when he retired, never had a weight problem. And he lost weight at exactly the same rate that I did. And I started to think, oh, this is strange. This probably isn't a fat gene. It's what we eat gene. What we're eating determines what genes we're going to wear. I don't know. But I saw this with other people too. Two sister-in-laws, his sisters, Lena and Nina. Lena's another person who's gone into carnivore now, and she had a lot of aches and pains and bloating. She said, I just feel like I'm 6 months pregnant. I just will not go away. So she's now gone into carnivore, and her partner, Bruno. He's lost weight and she's got no bloating anymore. And she's now doing some exercises and building up muscle tone. She's 70, looks amazing, and they're off to Italy soon. So she's just loving carnivore.
That's awesome. So, if someone came to you and said, "Okay, Julie, I see how well you're doing. I want some of this for myself too. Tell me how to get started with carnivore." What advice would you give them?
I would always look at who they are and say, okay, what are you doing now? What have you tried? And I would try and say, work with where you are right now. If you're a person who likes change and doesn't get worried by that, you can probably jump straight in. You may have a few tummy issues, a few bathroom issues. I think a lot of people had that when they first start. We all did. It goes very quickly. If you're somebody that finds it hard to make changes, start gradually. So think the personality of the person and try and tailor carnivore to you. Whatever you like to eat, try and find meals that work with your preferences. Don't work against who you are, work with who you are. And I think carnivore, you can find plenty of things online to adapt it to who you are. And then do it for at least a month before you make a decision to stick with it or not. But 90 days is even better because then you've given your body time to adjust. So I think a 90-day, and everybody deserves 90 days to see if they can turn their life around. If we can't give ourselves 90 days out of our lives, it's a very small amount of time. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater if you have a few initial grumbles or what have you. But most people I've spoken to and that do carnivore and the ones I've watched, usually only takes about 30 days to start to realise, hey, I'm seeing some things happen here that are great. So, yeah, work with yourself, get educated, watch Dave's channel, watch other people. There's Dr. Berry, there's Kelly Hogan. They've been on carnivore a long time as well. For people that might think, oh, this couldn't last indefinitely, you'll get sick. People have been doing this 15 years. And other people have been doing it, 6 months. So just get educated, reach out, have a look, give it a try. And I really don't think people will look back.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if you get to the 90 days, there's not many people that'll go, "Yeah, I'm sick of this feeling good stuff. I'm going back to the." It's,
Absolutely.
I never wanted to feel good. I wanna feel like I've got a hangover every morning. So, um, we've met on 2 occasions in Australia. We met in Adelaide in November, and we met again recently in Melbourne. And both times that we've met, I've noticed something very creative about you, and that's the T-shirts that you're wearing. So, do you have one of those T-shirts on now that you're able to show us?
I do. This is the one I wore to the November Adelaide Carnivore Convention. So I like doing arty stuff, and I thought, well, why not have fun with Carnivore? So this is one. This is my Marie Antoinette. The letters might be back the front. So it says, let them eat steak. So that's a spin-off
That's
of
awesome.
let them eat cake, let them eat steak. So yeah, I've got probably about 16 or so, I think, of different designs I've put onto a little platform that I have. Oh, and I also have a
Nice.
website too. So I have a
Oh, right.
website.
So,
Here's
if people wanna check out your website or check out the T-shirts, how can they get in contact?
Yeah, well, I think probably my Facebook page. I do have a website called I Can Live Without Sugar that my sons often said when I was having a cheat or a bad day, you should change that to I can't live without sugar. I said, no, 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 I can live without sugar. And Carnival helps with that. So yeah, I can live without sugar.com. But mostly that's sort of my keto treats. I do need to update that, which I'll do with more carnivore stuff. And my Facebook page of the same name, I Can Live Without Sugar. So, yeah, if anyone wants to reach out or wants to have a chat or needs, just a bit of encouragement. And the T-shirts, I'll put a link. I'll give you a link for that on your show notes if you like.
Yeah, awesome. So I'll link to all those below. Julie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate your time and all that you do.